She walks into my diner at 11:47 p.m., and I know her face. Rain pounds against the windows of my place, Stillwater's only all-night spot, and I'm wiping down the same coffee mug for the third time when the bell above the door chimes. Most nights, I get truckers passing through or insomniacs nursing their demons over black coffee. Tonight feels different. She stands in the doorway, soaked through, dark hair clinging to her cheeks. Her eyes sweep the empty diner before landing on mine, and something cold shoots through my chest. Not the usual recognition you get in a small town where everyone knows everyone. This is deeper, older. If you're already hooked by this mysterious reunion, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. Do you believe in fate? I set the mug down, my hands steadier than they've been in months. She takes a hesitant step forward, water dripping from her jacket onto the checkered floor. The overhead lights catch the exhaustion carved into her features, but underneath it all, she's exactly as I remember her. Except, I'm not supposed to remember her at all. 3 years ago, different city. A bridge on a night just like this one, rain turning the world into a blur of headlights and shadows. I'd been driving home from another sleepless shift at the hospital, back when I still believed saving people mattered, before everything fell apart, before I lost Emma. The woman on that bridge had been nothing more than a silhouette against the dark water below. No words exchanged, no names given, just a stranger's hand pulling another stranger back from the edge, both of us disappearing into the night afterward like it never happened. But it did happen. And now, she's here. We're closed, I say, though I make no move to turn her away. My voice sounds rusty, like I haven't used it for real conversation in weeks, which I haven't. I know. Her voice is softer than I expected, threaded with something between desperation and relief. I saw the light. I need somewhere to sit for a while. She's shivering, not from the cold, the diner's warm enough, but from something deeper. I recognize that tremor. I've seen it in my own reflection more times than I care to count. Coffee? I ask, already reaching for a clean cup. Please. She slides into the corner booth, the one with the torn vinyl seat that I keep meaning to fix. Her movements are careful, controlled, like someone who's learned to take up as little space as possible. I pour the coffee, black, bitter, strong enough to wake the dead, and carry it over. When I set the cup down, our fingers brush for just a second. She jerks her hand back like she's been burned, but not before I catch the way her breath hitches. Recognition flickers in her eyes, uncertain but growing stronger. She starts, then stops herself, shakes her head. Never mind. But I can see she knows. Somewhere beneath the fear and exhaustion, she remembers that night too. The rain, the bridge, the moment when two broken people found each other in the dark. I should walk away. Go back to my routine of closing up, counting the register, driving home to my empty house where Emma's coffee mug still sits in the sink because I can't bring myself to wash it. I should keep my distance like I have for the past year, ever since I gave up medicine and bought this place, ever since I decided that saving people was a fool's game. Instead, I sit down across from her. I'm Lucas, I say. She wraps her hands around the coffee cup like it's an anchor. Kara. The name fits her. It's clean, simple, honest, nothing like the chaos written across her face, or the way she keeps glancing toward the windows like she's expecting someone to appear out of the rain. You picked a hell of a night to be out, I observed. I didn't have much choice. She takes a sip of coffee, winces at the heat, but doesn't put it down. Sometimes you just have to keep moving, you know? I do know, more than she realizes. Thunder rolls overhead, shaking the windows and making the lights flicker. Kara tenses, her knuckles white around the cup. Whatever she's running from, it's not just a storm. Well, I say, settling back in the booth, you're safe here, at least until morning. She looks at me then, really looks at me, and for a moment the years fall away. We're back on that bridge, two strangers sharing a moment of grace in the darkness. Only this time, we both need saving. And this time, I might just be ready to try again. She looks at me then, really looks at me, and for a moment the years fall away. We're back on that bridge, two strangers sharing a moment of grace in the darkness. Only this time, we both need saving. And this time, I might just be ready to try again. Kara takes another sip of coffee, her eyes never leaving mine. The silence stretches between us, filled with unspoken questions and half-remembered moments. Outside, the rain continues its relentless assault on the windows, each drop like a finger tapping against glass. "You don't remember me," she says finally. It's not a question. I remember enough. I lean back in the booth, studying her face. A bridge. Rain like tonight. You were about to make the biggest mistake of my life. Her laugh is hollow, bitter. You stopped me. You stopped yourself. I just gave you a reason to think twice. She shakes her head. You saved my life that night. I never got to thank you. The words hang in the air between us. I want to tell her she doesn't owe me anything, that I was just doing what anyone would do. But we both know that's not true. Most people would have driven past, assumed someone else would handle it, told themselves it wasn't their problem. What are you running from, Kara? The question slips out before I can stop it. Too direct, too personal. But something about her desperation cuts through my usual barriers, the walls I've built to keep everyone at arm's length since Emma died. She sets her cup down carefully, like it might shatter if she's not gentle enough. His name is Dean. We were engaged. Were, past tense. I catch the emphasis. He doesn't let go of things he considers his. Her voice drops to barely above a whisper. Or people. I've heard this story before, seen it played out in emergency rooms and police reports. The pattern is always the same. Control disguised as love, possession masked as protection. It never ends well. How long have you been running? 3 weeks, maybe 4. Time gets fuzzy when you're always looking over your shoulder. She traces the rim of her coffee cup with one finger. I thought I'd lost him in Portland, but he found me again. He always finds me. The exhaustion in her voice tells me everything I need to know. This isn't her first attempt at escape. Dean's been hunting her for a while, wearing her down, making her believe there's nowhere she can go that he won't follow. Why here? Why Stillwater Cove? I saw your sign from the highway, open all night. Sometimes that's all you need, just somewhere with the lights on. I should tell her to call the police, file a restraining order, follow proper procedures. But I know how that story ends too. Paperwork doesn't stop men like Dean. It just makes them more creative. Instead, I find myself saying, "You can stay until morning. I've got a couch in the back office." The offer surprises us both. I haven't invited anyone into my space since Emma's funeral, when well-meaning friends and family filled my house with casseroles and empty condolences. The idea of opening my door to a stranger should terrify me. But Kara isn't really a stranger, is she? We're bound by that moment on the bridge, by the choice we both made to keep breathing when it would have been easier to stop. I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. Before she can respond, the bell above the door chimes again. We both turn toward the sound, and I feel Kara go rigid beside me. The man who walks in is everything I expected and nothing like I imagined. Tall, well-dressed despite the rain, with the kind of smile that probably charmed its way out of speeding tickets and into boardrooms. His dark hair is barely damp, like the storm outside touched him but didn't dare ruin his carefully crafted appearance. Dean. I know it before Kara whispers his name like a prayer or a curse. There you are, sweetheart. His voice is smooth as expensive whiskey, warm and inviting. He approaches our booth with the confidence of a man who's never been told no, never had a door slammed in his face. When he reaches us, a cloying sweetness cuts through the familiar aroma of coffee and pie, expensive cologne that probably costs more than I make in a week. This just got intense. Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you're feeling the tension, and don't forget to subscribe for more heart-pounding stories. Dean. Kara's voice is barely audible. She doesn't look at him, keeps her eyes fixed on her coffee cup like it might offer some kind of salvation. You had me worried sick, baby. Running off in the middle of the night like that. He slides into the booth beside her, trapping her against the window. The movement is casual, practiced. He's done this before. You know how you get when you're upset, not thinking clearly. I watch Kara shrink into herself, becoming smaller with each word he speaks. The woman who faced down her demons on a bridge 3 years ago disappears, replaced by someone who's learned to survive by taking up as little space as possible. She seems to be thinking just fine to me, I say. Dean's attention shifts to me for the first time, and I get the full force of that practice charm. Up close, I can see the calculation behind his smile, the way he sizes me up and dismisses me in the same glance. I'm sorry, have we met? He extends a hand across the table. Dean Morrison, and you are? Lucas. I don't take his hand. The slight doesn't faze him. If anything, his smile widens. Lucas. Right, the owner, I'm guessing. Nice place you've got here. Very authentic. The way he says it makes it sound like an insult wrapped in politeness. Everything about him screams money and privilege, the kind of man who's used to getting his way through charm first, force second. Kara and I were just catching up, he continues, his hand finding her shoulder. She flinches at the contact but doesn't pull away. Weren't we, sweetheart? Actually, we were having a private conversation, I say. Dean's smile never wavers, but something cold flickers in his eyes. Private? That's funny, because Kara doesn't really do private with strangers, do you, baby? The endearment sounds like a threat. Kara's knuckles are white around her coffee cup, and I can see her trying to disappear entirely. Maybe you should give her some space, I suggest. Space? Dean laughs, and the sound is all wrong. Too loud, too sharp. Friend, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Kara's my fiancé. We're going through a rough patch, sure, but that's between us. Family business. He's marking territory, making it clear that Kara belongs to him. The possessiveness in his voice makes my skin crawl, but more than that, it makes me angry. The first real emotion I felt in months that isn't grief or numbness. Is that what you want, Kara? I ask her directly. She looks up then, and for just a moment, I see the woman from the bridge, scared, desperate, but still fighting. She starts, then stops when Dean's grip tightens on her shoulder. She's just tired, Dean says smoothly. It's been a long night, haven't you, sweetheart? The way he speaks for her, the casual ownership in his tone, it all clicks into place. This isn't love, it's control, and Kara's been living under it so long she's forgotten how to use her own voice. But I remember what she looked like when she found it again on that bridge, when she chose to live instead of letting the darkness win. I'm not going to let Dean take that choice away from her. I'm not going to let Dean take that choice away from her. You know what? I stand up from the booth, my movement deliberate and slow. I think it's time you left. Dean's smile falters for the first time since he walked in. Excuse me? We're closed. Have been for an hour. I gesture toward the door. Time to go. I'm not leaving without Kara. His voice loses some of its polished charm, revealing something harder underneath. That's her choice to make. We stare at each other across the small space, two men drawing lines in the sand. I can feel Kara watching us, her breathing shallow and quick. The rain outside seems to intensify, hammering against the windows with renewed fury. Dean's jaw tightens. For a moment, I think he might escalate this, push it past words into something uglier. But then that practiced smile slides back into place, and he stands slowly. Of course, he smooths down his jackets, every movement calculated to show he's still in control. Kara, sweetheart, I'll be at the motel just outside town. Room 12. You know where to find me when you're ready to come home. He leans down and presses a kiss to the top of her head. She closes her eyes like she's trying to disappear entirely. Don't keep me waiting too long, he murmurs against her hair. You know how I worry. The words sound loving to anyone who wasn't listening carefully, but I catch the edge underneath, the implied threat wrapped in concern. Kara hears it too. Her whole body tenses like she's bracing for impact. Dean straightens, nods once in my direction. Lucas, thank you for taking care of my girl. My girl. Not even her name. Just ownership, plain and simple. He walks to the door with unhurried confidence, like he's already won. The bell chimes as he steps back into the storm, and the sound of rain grows louder before the door swings shut again. The silence that follows is deafening. Kara doesn't move for a long moment, just sits there staring at the spot where Dean stood. I can see her hands shaking, can hear the quick, shallow breaths she's trying to control. He's gone, I say softly. She nods, but doesn't look up. For now. Thunder rolls overhead, a deep rumble that shakes the building and rattles the windows. The lights flicker once, twice, then hold steady. In the distance, I can hear the wind picking up, turning the rain into something wild and vicious. "He'll be back," she whispers. "Maybe, but not tonight." I sit back down across from her, moving slowly so I don't startle her. She's still wound tight as a spring, ready to bolt at the first sign of danger. "Tell me about the bridge," I say. She looks up then, her eyes wide with surprise. "What?" "3 years ago. What brought you there?" For a moment, I think she might refuse to answer. The question is too personal, too invasive. But then another crack of thunder splits the air, and something in her expression shifts. "I'd just left him the first time," she says. "Dean, we'd been together for 6 months, and I thought I loved him, thought he loved me." Her voice is barely audible over the storm, but I catch every word. "He had this way of making me feel special, like I was the only person in the world who mattered to him. Until I wasn't perfect anymore. Until I said something wrong, or looked at another man, or just breathed wrong." Lightning illuminates the diner in stark white, casting harsh shadows across her face. She looks younger in that moment, vulnerable in a way that my chest tight. "The night I left, well, it doesn't matter what he did. What matters is that I finally found the courage to walk away. Packed a bag while he was at work, cleaned out my savings account, got in my car, and just drove." But I had nowhere to go, no family, no real friends. Dean had made sure of that. And somewhere around hour 10 of driving aimlessly, I realized I was completely alone in the world. That maybe I'd always been alone, and all the rest was just pretending. The thunder masks the crack in her voice, but I hear it anyway. I know that feeling, the crushing weight of isolation, the certainty that you're invisible to the world around you. "So you went to the bridge?" She nods. "I wasn't planning to. I didn't drive there thinking I was going to jump. But when I got out of the car and looked down at the water, it just seemed like the easiest solution. One step and all the pain would stop." "What changed your mind?" "You did." She meets my eyes for the first time since Dean left. "You pulled over, got out in the rain, and just stood there. Didn't say anything at first, just waited. Like you had all the time in the world." I remember that moment differently. The panic, the desperate search for the right words, the fear that anything I said might push her over the edge. But maybe that's not what she needed to hear. "When you finally spoke," she continues, "you didn't try to fix me or save me or tell me everything would be okay. You just asked if I wanted to talk. And for the first time in months, someone cared what I actually wanted." The rain intensifies, turning the world outside into a blur of water and darkness. Inside the diner, we're suspended in our own bubble of warmth and light, two people sharing truths we've never spoken aloud. "I drove away that night thinking I'd never see you again," Kara says, "but you changed something in me, made me remember what it felt like to have a choice." "What did you do after?" "Got clean, got therapy, got strong." Her smile is sad but real. "For 2 years, I was free. I had an apartment, a job, friends who actually liked me. I thought Dean was in the past." "But he found you." "He never stopped looking, and when he did find me," she shakes her head, "I wasn't the same broken girl he'd left behind. I'd learned to fight back." That made him angry. Thunder crashes again, so loud it drowns out everything else for a moment. When it fades, Kara is looking at me with something that might be hope. "What about you?" she asks. "What brought you here? To this place? This life?" The question hits me like a physical blow. I haven't talked about Emma to anyone, haven't even said her name out loud in months. But something about this moment, the storm, the intimacy of shared secrets, breaks down my defenses. "I lost someone," I say simply. "My wife, Emma." Kara's expression softens. "I'm sorry." "Cancer. 18 months from..." I can't finish the sentence. Even now, it feels impossible that she's gone. "Is that why you left medicine?" I nod. "Couldn't save the one person who mattered most. Made the rest feel pretty pointless." Lightning flashes again, and in that brief moment of illumination, I see something shift in Kara's face. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. "You saved me tonight," she says quietly, "just like you did 3 years ago." "No, Will you?" The words come out as barely a whisper, almost lost in the rumble of thunder. but I hear them. And in that moment, looking at this woman who somehow found her way back to me across years and miles and heartbreak, I realize something that stops me cold. She's not the only one who needs saving. The realization hits me like a physical blow. For months, I've been drifting through my days like a ghost, going through the motions of living without actually being alive. Emma's death didn't just take her away, it took me too, left me hollow and numb, convinced that caring about anything would only lead to more pain. But sitting here with Kara, sharing our broken pieces in the middle of a storm, I feel something crack open inside my chest. Not the sharp, devastating break of loss, but something gentler, like ice thawing after a long winter. I don't know if I know how to save anyone anymore, I admit. You're already doing it. Her voice is soft but certain. Just by being here, by seeing me. Before I can respond, the bell above the door chimes again. We both freeze, our eyes meeting across the table. The hope that had been building between us evaporates instantly. Dean stands in the doorway again, but this version of him is different from the polished charmer who left an hour ago. His hair is disheveled from the wind, his expensive jacket soaked through. But it's his eyes that make my blood run cold. All pretense of civility has been stripped away, leaving something raw and dangerous underneath. "Time's up," he says. He doesn't wait for an invitation this time, just strides across the diner with the confidence of a man who's done pretending to be reasonable. Kara shrinks back against the window, and I can see her retreating into that small, scared place where Dean's trained her to go. "I've been sitting in that motel room thinking," Dean continues, his voice deceptively calm. "And I realized I've been too patient with you, sweetheart, too understanding." He reaches our booth and doesn't sit down this time, just looms over us like a storm cloud ready to break. "Get your things, we're leaving." "She doesn't want to go with you," I say. Dean's attention snaps to me, and I see the mask slip completely. The rage underneath is white hot, barely contained. "This is family business, friend. Last warning." "No." The word comes out steady, stronger than I expected. She's not going anywhere she doesn't want to go. I stand up as I say it, positioning myself between Dean and Kara. It's not a conscious decision. My body just moves, some instinct older than thought taking over. Dean laughs, but there's no humor in it. "You think you're some kind of hero? Some white knight riding to the rescue?" "I think I'm someone who recognizes a bully when I see one." The words hang in the air between us, sharp and final. Dean's face goes very still, and I realize I've just crossed a line there's no coming back from. "Kara," he says, not taking his eyes off me. "Get up, now." "No." Her voice is barely a whisper, but it might as well be a shout for how it cuts through the tension. Dean's head snaps toward her. "What did you say?" I said no. Louder this time, stronger. "I'm not going with you, Dean." For a moment, nobody moves. The storm outside seems to hold its breath, waiting to see what happens next. Then Dean's control finally snaps. "You ungrateful little—" He lunges forward, reaching for Kara's arm. I move without thinking, stepping fully into his path. My hands come up to push him back, and I'm surprised by how steady they are. For the first time in months, there's no tremor, no weakness, just solid, certain purpose. This is about to get real. Smash that like button if you're Team Lucas, and hit subscribe because you do not want to miss how this ends. "Don't touch her," I say. Dean recovers quickly, straightening his jacket with sharp, angry movements. But I can see the calculation in his eyes now, weighing his options. "You have no idea what you're getting involved in," he says. "Kara's sick, unstable. She needs help, not some stranger filling her head with ideas." It's a practice speech, designed to make me doubt what I'm seeing, to make Kara doubt herself. The kind of manipulation that works when you're isolated, when you don't have anyone to remind you what reality looks like. "She seems pretty clear-headed to me," I reply. "She's my fiancé," Dean spits. "We have a history, a life together. You've known her for what, a few hours? You think that gives you the right to interfere? I think it gives me the right to stand up for someone who's being threatened. Dean takes a step closer, and I can smell the rain on his clothes, the desperation starting to seep through his cologne. He's losing control of the situation, and men like him don't handle that well. You want to play hero? His voice drops to something almost conversational. Fine, but understand what you're signing up for. I have money, connections, lawyers. I can make your life very complicated, very quickly. The threat is delivered with the casual confidence of a man who's used to getting his way through intimidation. A week ago, it might have worked. A week ago, I was barely hanging on, too numb to fight for anything. But that was before Kara walked into my diner, before she reminded me what it felt like to care about something other than my own pain. I'm not afraid of you, I say, and realize it's true. Something shifts in Dean's expression, surprise maybe, or grudging respect. He's not used to people standing their ground against him. You should be, he says quietly. But even as he says it, I can see him backing down. Not giving up, men like Dean never give up, but recognizing that tonight isn't going to go the way he planned. He turns to Kara, and his voice becomes soft, pleading. Baby, please, look at me. She does, and I can see the war playing out on her face. Years of conditioning telling her to comply, to keep the peace, to make herself small enough that maybe his anger won't find her. He continues, I love you. I know I haven't always shown it the right way, but everything I do is because I can't bear the thought of losing you. We can work this out. We always do. For a moment, I think she might waver. The pull of familiar patterns are strong, even when those patterns are toxic. But then she looks at me, and I see the woman from the bridge again, the one who chose to fight instead of surrender. No, Dean. Her voice is quiet but unshakable. We can't work this out. We never could. I just finally understand that it was never my job to try. The words hit Dean like a physical blow. I watch his face cycle through emotions, shock, hurt, rage, before settling into something cold and calculating. Fine, he says. Have it your way. But this isn't over, Kara. It's never over between us. You know that. He straightens his jacket one final time, gives me a look that promises future consequences, and walks toward the door. I'll be in touch, he calls over his shoulder. The bell chimes as he leaves, and then we're alone again with the storm. I sink back into the booth, my hands finally starting to shake now that the immediate danger has passed. But it's not the weak tremor I've carried for months. It's just adrenaline, the natural response to confrontation. You did it, Kara says, her voice full of wonder. You actually stood up to him. We did it, I correct. You're the one who said no. She's crying now, but they're not tears of fear or sadness. There's something else entirely. Relief, maybe, or the overwhelming realization that she's finally free. I forgot what that felt like, she whispered, having someone on my side. I reach across the table and take her hand. Her fingers are cold but steady, and when she squeezes back, I feel something I haven't experienced since Emma died. Hope. Not the desperate, clinging hope of someone trying to bring back the dead, but the quiet, steady hope of someone ready to start living again. Protecting Kara didn't just save her from Dean. It saved me from the shadow I'd been hiding in, afraid to care about anything, because caring meant risking loss. But some things are worth the risk. We sit in silence for a while, hands clasped across the table, listening to the storm gradually lose its fury. The rain that had been hammering the windows with violent intensity begins to soften, becoming a gentle patter rather than an assault. He'll really leave me alone? Kara asks, though I can hear she already knows the answer. Men like Dean don't give up easily, I admit, but they're cowards at heart. He saw tonight that you're not alone anymore, that someone's willing to stand with you. That changes the equation. She nods, understanding. He can't control what he can't isolate. Exactly. The diner feels different now, not just a place of refuge, but something like home. The familiar scent of coffee and the warm glow of the overhead lights seem welcoming instead of harsh. Even the torn vinyl booth feels comfortable rather than worn down.
What happens now? Kara asks. It's the question I've been avoiding, the one that forces us to look beyond this moment of connection and into an uncertain future. A few hours ago, I would have given her some money for gas and sent her on her way, told myself I'd done enough, but everything's changed. Now you get to decide what you want, I say. No one chasing you, no one telling you who to be, just you and whatever comes next. She smiles, and it transforms her entire face. This isn't the cautious, fearful expression she's worn all night. This is joy, pure and uncomplicated. I forgot what that felt like, she says, having choices. What do you think you'll choose? She considers this, gazing out the window where the first hint of dawn is starting to creep across the horizon. The sky is still dark, but there's a quality to the darkness that speaks of endings rather than endless night. I don't know yet, she admits, but I think that's the point, isn't it? Not knowing, but choosing anyway. I understand exactly what she means. For months, I've been paralyzed by the certainty that caring about anything would only lead to more loss. But sitting here with Kara, I realize that the alternative, shutting down, closing off, refusing to engage with life, isn't really living at all. What about you? She asks. What do you choose? The question catches me off guard. I've been so focused on her situation, her future, that I haven't considered my own. But the answer comes easier than I expected. I choose to try again, I say, to care about things, to let people in. Even though it's scary? Especially because it's scary. She squeezes my hand, and I feel the truth of those words settle into my bones. Emma's death taught me that love always ends in loss, but it also taught me that the alternative to love isn't safety, it's just emptiness. What about you? She asks. What do you choose? The question catches me off guard. I've been so focused on her situation, her future, that I haven't considered my own. But the answer comes easier than I expected. I choose to try again, I say, to care about things, to let people in. Even though it's scary? Especially because it's scary. She squeezes my hand, and I feel the truth of those words settle into my bones. Emma's death taught me that love always ends in loss, but it also taught me that the alternative to love isn't safety, it's just emptiness. What about you? She asks. What do you choose? The question catches me off guard. I've been so focused on her situation, her future, that I haven't considered my own. But the answer comes easier than I expected. I choose to try again, I say, to care about things, to let people in. Even though it's scary? Especially because it's scary. She squeezes my hand, and I feel the truth of those words settle into my bones. Emma's death taught me that love always ends in loss, but it also taught me that the alternative to love isn't safety, it's just emptiness. What about you? She asks. What do you choose? The question catches me off guard. I've been so focused on her situation, her future, that I haven't considered my own. But the answer comes easier than I expected. I choose to try again, I say, to care about things, to let people in. Even though it's scary? Especially because it's scary. She squeezes my hand, and I feel the truth of those words settle into my bones. Emma's death taught me that love always ends in loss, but it also taught me that the alternative to love isn't safety, it's just emptiness. If this story is giving you all the feels, drop a heart in the comments and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss our next emotional journey. The rain has stopped completely now, leaving only the occasional drip from the gutters and the distant sound of waves against the shore. Through the windows, I can see the first pale streaks of morning light painting the edges of the sky. Look, I say, nodding toward the windows. Carrot turns to follow my gaze, and we both watch as dawn slowly transforms the world outside. The storm clouds are breaking apart, revealing patches of clear sky that promise a beautiful day ahead. The light filtering through the windows is soft and golden, nothing like the harsh fluorescent glare that's lit our conversation all night. "It's beautiful," she whispers. It is. But more than that, it's hopeful. A reminder that even the darkest nights eventually end, that storms pass, that morning always comes if you can just hold on long enough to see it. I have a spare room upstairs, I find myself saying. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and quiet. You could stay a few days, figure out your next move. She looks at me with surprise and something that might be gratitude. Are you sure? I'm sure, and I am. Not because I have all the answers or because I know where this leads, but because sometimes the right choice is the one that scares you most. Sometimes you have to leap before you know where you'll land. I'd like that, she says softly. We sit together as the light grows stronger, two people who found each other in the darkness and chose to hold on. Neither of us knows what comes next, whether this is the beginning of something lasting or just a moment of grace in both our lives. But for now, it's enough. To be here, to be alive, to be unafraid of what tomorrow might bring. The diner is quiet, except for the gentle sounds of morning, birds beginning to sing, the distant hum of early traffic, the peaceful silence that follows a storm. The windows are clear now, no longer streaked with rain, and the light streaming through them makes everything look possible. Thank you, Kara says, for seeing me, for standing up for me, for reminding me who I am. Thank you for reminding me who I could be again. She smiles, and in that smile I see all the mornings yet to come, all the choices still to be made, all the quiet courage it takes to keep choosing hope over fear. We've saved each other, just like she said. And maybe that's enough to build something on. Not a fairy tale ending, but something real and honest and worth the risk of caring. Outside, Stillwater Cove awakens to a new day, washed clean by the storm and full of possibility. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, so am I.